Hi there. Welcome to The PrevenTable, the podcast giving you a seat at the table with conversations about the intersection of alcohol, drugs, and mental health in everyday lives. Take a seat and join us.
Welcome to The PrevenTable. Before we get started with our guest today, I want to make sure and give a big thanks to Hubbard Radio for allowing us to use their space and record our conversations for you all to join us. Today, I have a repeat PrevenTable guest, a friend of Prevent+Ed and mine, and wanted to bring back because some different things are happening. So welcome, James.
Hi, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's good to be here.
Of course. James wears several different hats, but the last time he was a guest on the PrevenTable, you talked a lot about lean STL. So why don't you give our listeners a refresh on who you are and what lean STL is?
Sure. Thank you so much. James Pursell. I kind of always spiel the same way, so I'll give it to you the way I always give it. I'm a laborer by trade. I worked in the field for almost 25 years. I'm also a Marine Corps veteran, husband and father, and I'm also someone in recovery, alcohol, drug use recovery, and something I love to talk about, mental health recovery, pretty important to me. And so about 3.5 years ago, a lot of little moving parts here, but started going back to school for social work at St. Louis Community College, but also my organization, the St. Louis Laborers, the construction laborers, knew they had some problems and they had seen this. I'm giving you the short version, of course. They saw this program in Massachusetts called LEAN, and it was the acronym stands for Laborers Escaping Addiction now. It did. We modified it a little bit. But they saw this model and thought this works. You know, they saw it working there. It started 7 years ago there, and it was directly addressing the opioid crisis.
Right.
So we're talking about on the East Coast. They didn't talk about mental health, but worked. Successful program. They brought it here 3 years ago, March 1st. We started. I am a peer support. I love that idea of that lack of power differential. I think we're all capable of connecting with humans when we have a shared language. I like to say this goofy line that a peer can do in 5 minutes what a clinician can't do in 5 weeks. It's not exactly true, but there's a lot of, I always describe it like this. You take a veteran and a non-veteran in a room, and they're going to have a great conversation, but there's probably going to be a wall there. But you take the non-veteran out and put another veteran in there, the walls go down.
You immediately break down some of those barriers.
Yeah, this trust, shared language, and then there's the vulnerability of the shared experience of addiction, of substance, use, of mental health challenges. So, when you take your armor off and are vulnerable, It allows the other to do the same thing. So I love being a peer. So I'm a peer support. 3 years. Interesting in the trades. We just got some new data, but the last data we were working with, we train the heck out of safety, what we call safety, physical safety. And there were under 1,000 job-related deaths, 6,000 suicides, and 17,000 substance use deaths.
Wow.
Those numbers just went down. I think it's at 13,000 now for the substance use. I would absolutely say from a lot of the hard work that Prevent+Ed, our community has done, Narcan,
their access to resources, all of the reasons.
I think you and I both, we've seen this happen, like the net closing in the 3 years that we've known each other.
Right, but still 13,000 is 13,000
Yeah,
too
think
many,
about that. So still, and the suicides only went down to 5,000. Still under 1,000 job related, and we called that we were training safety, right? But we weren't doing any of this psychological safety.
Yeah.
And so that kind of important to know that we as a population have a challenge, but we also have resources, but they were not being utilized, right? Nobody was getting the help that they needed. It was right there, and we as a population struggle. I think most people struggle to, there's this great factoid about after onset of mental health symptoms that it takes over 10 years for a person to go get
engage in some help. You're right,
a lot of
treatment.
damage, and we're beyond. We're not average. Our population, we're a little outside of the average, but a lot of damage happens in that time. So we our behavioral health utilization numbers were really low before we came on. First year, 20+% went up. And then the second year, another 20+% on top of that. So we're getting out there. People are getting help. I don't ever want to say I'm doing something. The program, peer work is effective.
Making the difference. Yeah.
What I love about it is we're not just a program that lives on a shelf, right? We're not a postcard. We're out meeting our members where they're at, whether it's at our union meetings or job sites. And so I think that makes all the difference, having these conversations that we're having. So that's a little bit about Lean.
So Lean really was a program that started just here in St. Louis, just with the local 110, right?
Actually, 110 and local 42.
Okay.
They exist together in St. Louis. That could be a conversation for another. But they live under an umbrella. Their welfare and benefits office is an umbrella that they both live under. And so we support both. Actually, my partner Aaron is a local 42 guy, and I'm a local 110 guy.
Right, so that's
but
how
still
very
very isolated, right? This program to St. Louis, what a forward thinking process. And also to add something to that, we've been at it 3 years, but it was 2 years in the making to get this happening. Not everything happens overnight,
sure.
Especially. And so we've seen this grow and expand. We've done a lot of work together and seen each other. We're all out here in this field, and so it's really impressive to I had no idea that I try and give as much respect and care as I can to our support networks, the people out here doing the work, the treatment facilities, the nonprofits. Our program would not work without that. Like this is a team effort, and we're kind of the new kids on the block, but we're starting to.
But I think that goes back to what you said before, James, is your role now. So 3 years ago when you were taken off the job site, so to speak, and put into this different role as a peer and that connector with 110 and 42, that your job then became to know what all these resources are and to be the one to be able to say to your labor peers, hey, I know where we can find some help for this, rather than everyone having to try to figure it out, because we know it can also often be a little messy and there's not a cookie cutter one size fits all approach here.
Absolutely.
And so then you get to be that trusted connector for people.
I love it. It's this strange combination of, again, that lack of power differential, right? We are peers. Even Steven, this is kind of an important piece to talk about, right? Somebody's not going to go self-disclose to their boss or the foreman on the job. Hey, I'm a mess. What do we want to do? Nobody knows we didn't know what we thought we were handling it as best we could, which wasn't really good. Kind of, turning a blind eye or sweeping, trying to take care of people, but we didn't know better. And when you know better, you do better. So but also not. There's also this implied piece that we have some answers, that, and that's a good feeling. That's a great feeling. But it was difficult at first, you have to build.
Even with all the resources we have, and I have this conversation often with people, is, well, do we need more resources? Well, probably. But are people even aware of the resources that are out there? And even with all the resources out there, it doesn't just mean that it's pressing the easy button. It's still...
It's not handing somebody a number. If it was, we might not be where we're at. I mean, there's like the not-so-secret, the EAPs and MAPs. Nobody uses them. We pay for them, and nobody uses them. Sorry, you can edit that out. But there are resources out there. But for me, this is relational. Yes. Right? We build relationships with each other. So when we need something, I tell people who are just getting started, and we'll probably get into some of that. You can't just hand someone a number, right? No. You call that number first. Find out who's on the other end. What are they doing? What's it feel like? Because that person you're helping is going to know they're in need of that trust and safety. They're opening a door with you, and you want to handle that trust with care and be there. And they know if you're just like, hey, call this number, they might not even call.
No.
But if you care and and you're walking them through it, and it's not just holding somebody's hand, although that's necessary sometimes. We want to build their capacity, so I don't want it to seem like we're, enabling or taking easy on somebody. But hey, I know I've been there. It's a very difficult space, and you don't know which way to turn. And so when you have somebody, but knowing what these resources are, because the resources were there, but they can be difficult to navigate. These EAPs do have a role, but when you call them, it's not always easy to get to navigate. And we've had situations where people have gotten, here's 5 resources and 4 of them don't work, right?
Right, or 4 of them don't answer the phone, and then they're like, well, I'm done trying that path now.
Done. Easily. Let me go get a 12-pack or a 30-pack of beer or whatever and move on down the line. That's real. That's not, so connecting people it's been incredible to develop these relationships and do the work together. It's a team effort for sure.
And so part of where Lean started 3 years ago was also recognizing even Lean in Boston, right? Boston,
you got it.
That there is a higher rate of substance use concerns, suicide concerns, mental health concerns among laborers.
Absolutely.
And so I think, we both have read the studies and have heard the presentations, and there's a lot of reasons that we can go back to why that might be. Thinking about the opioid crisis, we know that laborers is hard labor, right?
Yeah, we work hurt.
Yeah.
Work is intermittent, so when you have to work, there's no, can I get light duty or my wrist hurts a little? You go out there and you wrap that thing up and you take a couple pills and
you power through it.
Yeah, and
you try to.
And that's part of the culture. Although I'll say, I want to add a little caveat here, if I use that word correctly. I think something that's missed, because occupationally they talk about being a vet and a laborer. I think these populations look a lot alike, and most people don't talk about this. But I think most of we're being drawn from a population that may or may not be predisposed for these challenges. So it's not. But of course, all those occupational hazards are there.
Well, and I would add to that. Right? I would keep on another layer here. Is so we have an environment where people might feel they got to get through it because this is how I'm going to make my living, and this is my job, and this is who I am. Yep. Some predisposition.
Yep.
And then some stigma.
Oh,
right?
Forget about it again. It's like being in the military. It's like walking into a room of the toughest people who, I always say, not getting the job done is not an option. Like that's just, it's not. So you walk into a room of people like that and go, I can't hack it, or these are social. There's a lot of stigma that are built in, but I'm not good enough, right? Or back to primitive, being ostracized from your tribe, right? You want to. So going in and identifying yourself as weak or. Having some struggle
involve emotions and substances.
Well, and there's all that thing back in in the heyday. Leave that stuff at the gate, right? You drop that. Turns out human beings don't work that way.
No,
right? We don't, and so these things have just been building layer after layer, and some people may not understand how generationally that can compile. But I think our generation and the next are really. It's coming full circle, dealing with a lot of these problems that have been passed on. And I'm not saying that to, move responsibility, just looking at the picture clearly, right? What's really going on. And you would never, we live in this dualistic society that, you're either strong and you can get it done, or you're weak and you're not worthy, right? And there's still the moralistic view of substance use and mental health.
Yes.
And so...
So I think that, might be one of those unintended consequence, and in this case, consequence in a very positive frame of a program like Lean and Peers, because now we have people that have worked in that space who are also coming into that space and openly talking about mental health and substance use in a way that has a different feeling than it being taboo or stigmatized or having that tough persona with
or someone from the outside coming in and tell you this is a feeling wheel. Like,
and everyone's like, you don't know what you're talking about. You've not done.
They're
going to
rebuff that, but it's incredible how every time Erin and I speak in front of a group of our peers, a group of, and there's always the guys in the back, like
arms crossed,
arms crossed. And by the end of us speaking and allowing this space to, everybody's coming up and telling us their story and what's going on. It's powerful. It's incredible.
It's very powerful.
I know it's all Brene Brownish, but did I say her name right? But vulnerability. It takes, it's the new model. It takes so much more courage and strength to open up and talk about these things. Again, another not so secret. Every human being walking this planet is dealing with the same stuff, give or take a degree or two, right? We're all dealing with it, and we've been so bottled up and carrying it ourselves, and it's so unnecessary. And when someone comes forward and says, "Hey, I'm struggling with this," it's empowering, And
even if the guy in the back with his arms crossed, even if he's not directly experiencing it now, he'll have the idea, the hope, the reality is maybe just a smidge more empathy for that person next to him that does. And
I have a theory. I think that's that guy in the back holding his arms up. He's the first guy who should be coming to talk to me.
Probably.
Listen, we've all built up these, maladaptive coping mechanisms, right? We've all we've done some wall building, right? So, and we all have different experiences, but I find it to be an incredibly powerful mechanism for us to go speak our truth about these challenges. And it does look like a spectrum of ways, right? But there's a lot of commonality in it too, and everybody recognizes that. And all of a sudden, but I do like to lean in on that takes so much more courage and strength to, not just for us to be vulnerable, but there's also getting help works. And part of it is letting go of it. That's a part of the mechanism, but another conversation. But getting help works is a piece of this, right? It's not just, we're having a tough time, but also, hey, for some of these things, I'm also, sorry, I get off on side topics, but natural support, you're going to hear me talk about it over and over. And I think as humans, we've gotten away from it, but a big portion of our troubles can be addressed, navigated by sharing them, right? Whatever that looks like. We can talk about support groups, but something I know, being in the military, being a Marine, working as a part of a team, being a concrete laborer, working as part of a team, you share, know more about each other than anyone else in your life.
Yeah, because you share that space with them all the time.
And that's true for all of us. Wherever you work, whatever you're doing, the people around you. So those are quite powerful relationships also, right? Because they're going to have thousands of more touches on each other's lives than we do. And so understanding that power and people having some better language ability. We talk to people all the time, whether it's a foreman or an owner of an organization. Hey, I care about these men and women.
Right.
I don't know how to have that conversation, right? And so I think it's terrible that we have to teach each other how to have conversations, but it's okay.
It's okay.
I'm willing to do the work. Right?
So 3 years ago, you and Erin and starting Lean and built it, and you're humble enough, you probably won't say it, so I'll say it for you. You've had a lot of success, and people are seeing that, and people are recognizing this is making a difference, whether we're looking at some changes in use of benefits or we're looking at some of these rates drop. And then, I know it's been more time than this, but at least within the last 9 months, other people have been coming to you, right? And saying, wait, how do we do that? Other trade organizations, and we're just talking about here in the St. Louis region, because it's not just 110 and 42.
Yeah,
I don't even know how many there are. You might know this
because when people hear laborers, they go, isn't everybody out there with a screw gun in their hand, a laborer? Well, we're not.
There's people that work on elevators, and there's people, electricians, and there's carpenters. It's specialties, right? You can think about it that way. So other people started coming to you and saying, how do we do this?
I'll back that up a little bit and say, because Erin and I were talking on job sites, and I want to, send my propers out to my organization, Local 42 and Local 110, Diana Marburger, who runs our program, they set us on point. Like if somebody calls you and they're not necessarily a laborer, we also support family members, right? And a family member might not be on your insurance policy. So we were taking calls from the trades already. So that was kind of maybe part of the seed. I love to tell the story. I actually took a phone call from a laborer in Chicago.
Oh, wow.
And this is exactly how the conversation goes. He calls and goes, "Hey, are you the guy that helps laborers?" And it was one of the coolest things that ever happened to me in my life. And I said, "Yeah, I am. Let's go." And I got him some resources in Chicago because, we weren't going to turn anybody away.
No, you're not going to tell someone, "I can't help you." You're
not. So,
you're an electrician. I can't help you.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. And we have these connections with these resources, but it's a little more difficult for us to do, right? I know our members and their families. I know their insurance policy. I know if something's in network, out of network. I can help them navigate it, but I can't do that as much for somebody else. I can point them in the right direction. And so this seed was planted, and of course we've been out in the field doing this. We're meeting people, sharing in this work, and so. You start seeing people at some of our talks, and David Scott from the elevator constructors and Dave Ballou from the electricians, some of these guys showing up to some of these talks with John Gall we're having. And we're like, hey, let's have a conversation over here, right? Yeah. And we're doers, right? You heard me say we're not box checkers. We are doers. How can we do this? How can we make a difference? We know that our population looks exactly the same, and St. Louis is this wonderful, diverse, but really we're a small little big town, right? We all know each other. Right. Our trades people, we're built on the trades, So we started having these early conversations, and it had always been I certainly won't say this is a me thing, right? But it has always been in the back of my mind to have a coalition in St. Louis, to have the other trades come forward and address this, right? To do this together. The same way we've been doing everything else, right? Tightening that net. How we everybody's doing everything in isolation, reproducing work that we can share and stuff.
Well, I think that's what it is. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel.
Stuff that PrevenTable has tried to teach us since day one, since we got here. Still working on it. Lucky to have people showing us these possibilities like this. Oh, by the way, this is a skillful way. So, started having these conversations. Last year, the elevator constructors started their peer program. Everybody started coming forward saying, all right, okay, what do we do? Well, there's a lot of background information, too. Aaron and I are out doing trainings. We're cross-training. We're talking about mental health. We're doing suicide stand downs. We're going to do critical incident interventions at job sites. People are talking about this. This is a more skillful way. I always tell people, because sometimes our plates are all full, right? And especially our leadership feel the same way. You got a foreman on a job. They're stacked up. They have their own lives. I make sure people know we're not trying to add something to your plate. We're trying to help you navigate more skillfully something you're already dealing with.
Right, it's there. We're not bringing something new here.
No,
we're just going to help support everyone, because when you have that level of support, you have more engaged workers, you have a stronger productivity. I mean, all the things we know. Things.
It's incredible how one person struggling can affect the people around them. I know. I was, but we all know. Yeah, we all know. It's no secret. And the opposite of that is when somebody's healing or healthy or doing well, what that does to the group.
Yeah.
So just seeing all those pieces come together, starting to have a conversation, and I tell David Scott, I'm like, oh yeah, it sure would be great if we could, have a trades coalition. He calls me a couple of days later and goes, we're doing this, and I go,
I love it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we just started a piece at a time. We started polling people. We sat down with y'all. I'm not saying we're doing it, exactly to plan, but you're doing it. But we're doing it, yes. and every day somebody comes forward. IBW, the electricians are a big part of this. Guarantee Electric, they're all coming together, working on peer programs. Help me make my way through this, but I'm asking you to help me talk about my own stuff. But there's a lot we want to do with this coalition.
And I've been fortunate to come to a couple of the meetings or events or the sharings, and I
tell me what we're doing.
Yeah, well, what I see as kind of I would say an outsider looking in, a person that knows nothing about the labor world, but
not quite an outsider. We're friends. You're friends
an
of
adjacent.
Adjacent.
We're adjacent here. So, but it is. I'm seeing it as kind of three different things happening. One is just at its basic a place to share resources, share ideas, share information.
What's working for you?
Who can you connect with? And that could be within the trades, that could be outside of the trades, because it really has been a great mix of both that are brought together just to
love that you
share.
Recognize that.
And then there's some, I would say, focused training. So education, like more than just networking and sharing, but real education of well, this is what this means. And this is even for some, what is a peer, or what the heck are we talking about mental health? And, so there's training opportunities where people can become more informed and even more skilled in some of the work that happens. And then the third piece I'm seeing is that program, I'll call it development, right? So when the other trades are saying, well, we want to really stand up a peer program here, or we want to be able to push this out further, because it's not every trade person in St. Louis is not coming to these convenings. It's usually the bosses,
leadership, safety.
Leadership. That's probably a better word than bosses, but
no, that works. That works.
And so then like the third part I'm saying is, okay, well, how do we get this pushed out further?
That's always a thing to me as a guy, and I know we need every level, right? We need organization, we need people to help us. We need that 30,000 foot level. But for me, I'm the boots on the ground. I wonder every day if what I'm doing, how that's helping a man or a woman or his family out there in the field. Like, how is this going to touch their lives? That's what I care about. And I also care about every level of management too. They're all human beings too.
Of course.
So and also, of course, I know we need the buy-in. We need the support.
Absolutely.
You were hitting it out of the park. All those pieces also touch on stigma. So back up and awareness. Everybody is ready for actionable items, right? I need takeaways. I need this. I am still the guy who's going to bang the drum of awareness, of education, because the more we know, the better we can move. Yeah. And so the education piece. So it's kind of how would you say, kind of, they're important to educate the leadership, right? But also this is like practicing for pushing this education out into the field. Because for me, who better, because I see the same safety people at the trainings. It's great. I'm glad that they're there. But how can we get this out into the hands of the men and women who are dealing with it, the four persons, men and women who are leadership, right? How can we get these trainings out there? And then when I also believe, I'm a Marine, and I believe in these, being able to scale things out. Continuity is a thing, right? Yeah. Many of these trades are on the same job sites together. So if we have some shared language that we can get to, that's helpful.
Yeah, I love, one thing that came up at one of the meetings that I think is a tangible example that we can kind of close with here is even just having, maybe people that identify as being in recovery or as being a resource for people to be able to have a sticker to wear on helmets on job sites, so that if somebody is struggling or if someone has a question or is worried about somebody else,
there's somebody there they can check in with.
They can just check in with. So they don't necessarily have to completely leave their labor or their trade job and go into a peer job, but they're able to say like, hey, I can help connect and support
Absolutely.
you.
Also the idea of that same sticker with a QR code, maybe in the Porta-John or something, somewhere where somebody can anonymously identify as somebody they're struggling, right? And then we connect them. But yeah, that peer on the job, things don't change overnight, and they don't change easily, but how do they change? We model it. What Aaron and I are doing, what the rest of these organizations are doing, we're modeling it. And we didn't think a lot of things would change in this industry, but we did them. That we might be, again, back to the not getting the job done is not an option. So if we put well-being in front, and many of these men and women, they have that attitude like happiness will come at the end of my journey, right? And I want them to know that they can be healthy and happy. And again, we're also more productive, and our families are better. So, yeah.
It's awesome. It's so awesome. And I'll just again say thank you. And, it's sometimes hard when you're in it to see it, but you are making such a difference. And even the fact that all of these trades are coming together to talk about mental health and substance use. That right there is like,
wow,
a giant leap from where the world once was. And so that you're involved in this, that you're leading this, that you're so dedicated and your passion for it is, St. Louis is lucky to have you here.
Oh, I feel incredibly blessed.
Yeah. You have blessed many others with your own blessings.
It's a gift for all of us. And again, wouldn't be here without all of you. With this team, certainly kind of came in like, okay, what do we do? And you guys are like, okay, come over here. Let's get you started. So I recognize that, and we would not be here if it wasn't together. So I would put that thank you back to everybody, but also receive your thanks graciously.
Of course. So if someone's listening and they're like, well, I want to get involved in this, or I want to connect, how would someone connect with the coalition or with you? What's the best way to do that?
Yeah, listen, I'm a wild cat, like my number is 314-646-9007. More importantly, the Building Trades Wellness Coalition has a website. Just Google STL Building Trades Wellness Coalition. Yes. We have a website. You can sign up to our mailing list. Myself, David Scott, and John Gall, our contact info is on there. Feel free to reach out. You can call Jenny Armbruster.
You can call me and I'll connect you.
We are a community here, and we're not. We've let people know also this is a team effort. As Jenny mentioned, she's been at these meetings. We have our treatment providers there. We want to solve problems and be a community at these meetings. So don't feel left out if you don't feel like you're part of the building trades. We want any organization that has workers who wants to come learn and be a part of this, please come. It can be union, it can be non-union. Yeah. If the grocers. We've had many people reach out to us, the auto workers, anyone. This is for us, for our region, to build, to be stronger, to find ways forward, to learn from each other.
That's beautiful. It's wonderful. All right. Well, I hope people reach out. Thank you so much, James, for joining me today. Thank you to all of our listeners for pulling up a seat to the Preventable. If you've liked what you heard and you want to hear more, be sure to subscribe at anywhere that you get your podcast. We'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for joining us at The Preventable, brought to you ad-free by Prevent+Ed. Prevent+Ed works to reduce or prevent the harms of alcohol and other drug use through education, intervention, and advocacy. Please visit their website at PrevenTEd.org. Like what you heard? Rate, review, and subscribe to stay up to date with what we are serving on The Preventable.